The X-Force Varex Axleback is perfect for the 2018 to 2023 Mustang GT Fastback owner who values high quality, great sound, and customizability in their exhaust setup. This is an excellent choice for you if you want to be able to control just how loud your exhaust can get, as this is a valved exhaust setup. Now that also makes it ideal for those of you who may have wanted the factory valved exhaust but missed out on that option for whatever reason. Now this one is going to be a little bit harder to rate on our typical loudness meter given the fact that it is valved, so the volume does change. However, in its loudest setting with the valves fully open, we're going to give this one a 4 out of 5 on that loudness meter. Though, keep in mind you can of course turn it down should you need or want to do that, and that is the true beauty and the biggest feature of this system. X-Force makes some pretty trick parts, and though this one is only an Axleback, it is a darned cool one. That said, this is going to replace just your stock mufflers and keep the rest of the exhaust intact, again as it is only an Axleback. However, these mufflers are the primary source of sound control. Now inside of here are obviously where the valves are housed, and X-Force describes these mufflers as straight through. Now, you may not be able to see it too terribly well, but with the valves open, that will make this port pretty much straight through. Keep the valves closed though, and this is very civilized. Makes it perfect for a daily driven car or one that's going to see a lot of highway miles or road trips. This setting makes the Mustang into more of a grand touring car. So for a cold morning startup before work or taking grandma to her hair appointment, it's perfect. But if grandma also likes a rowdy muscle car, just crack those valves open and you get a whole different animal. It's going to make the Mustang snarl and growl a lot more than the original exhaust, and it's very much a split personality, and that really is the highlight here. Now, if your car does not have the factory active exhaust, you're going to install this whole kit. That's going to include the wiring, the control box, everything. And you will have that valved exhaust once you get it all installed. And you control those valves with these included remote key fobs. A closes the valves, B opens them up. So you can mount these, maybe one inside the cabin and keep one on the keys, basically do whatever you want with it. And if your car came from the factory with the active exhaust, well, great news, you're in luck. Using the included brackets right here, you'll just have to transfer over your actuator motors from the stock system to the Varex mufflers, mount the exhaust up, and your stock system will work just like it did the day it rolled off the factory floor, so you can control it through the drive modes just like it did originally. Only it's gonna sound a heck of a lot better. Pretty slick stuff. Now when it comes to the tips, these are gonna exit of course in the stock location, but you get these larger quad 4-inch polished tips, which makes for a nice visual update compared to the much thinner stock ones. And I think it really sets off the rear end of the car. Now construction, as I've kind of alluded to a bit already, well, it's very high quality. The entire thing from the flanges back to the tips is comprised of T304 stainless steel, so it's about as rust and corrosion resistant as they come. The piping is all 3 inches in diameter, with the tips measuring in at 4 inches in diameter. And as we've already discussed, the entire thing is designed to fit right in place of your factory mufflers without you having to modify anything else. Your actuators for the valves do come included in the kit as well, and they actually come pre-installed on the mufflers. And you can get this wiring done pretty easily too. It's very nicely made setup, the welds are really good, the hangers are reinforced here, so it's worth springing for this setup if you're looking for something really solid as well. Now when it comes to the price, well, it reflects that good construction and all these fun features. So expect to pay around $1,300 for this setup. That makes it definitely a premium option in the Axleback category, but if you want that quality, you want the sound, and you want the customizability, well, you gotta be willing to shell out the big bucks. As far as installation is concerned, this is a slight bit more complicated than your typical Axleback. We're gonna give it a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you about 2 hours to complete. Now the whole thing is designed to bolt right in place of your factory system, but you are gonna have to run some wires and plug a few things in order to get those valves and the switches working properly. However, we're gonna show you that whole process right now, so for that, let's head on out to the shop.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, a ratchet, scissors or diagonal cutters, 6mm wrench, 13, 14, 15, and 16mm sockets, zip ties, stick-on zip tie clips, and a cutting tool. What's up guys? Today we're installing an exhaust on our Mustang. First we're going to watch a quick uninstall video showing you how to remove the Axleback portion of your exhaust, and then I'll meet you back here for the install.
Alright, so once you have your Mustang in the air, either on the lift or jack stands, we're going to mark our spot on the exhaust and we're going to make our cut. Now you can take this entire exhaust off and cut it separately, but I think it's a little bit easier to cut it on the car, and it doesn't actually need to come off, so we can do it right on the car. Let's grab a Sharpie and make our mark. Alright, so we're going to cut right after this 90-degree bend. You want to make sure that you're cutting in the straight section, and you want to give yourself as much of the straight section as you can for the exhaust to clamp onto. So our mark is going to go right at the end of the 90-degree bend and the beginning of this straight here. So right about this area. You can get a straight edge if you want to be more precise. All right, once our mark is made, we're grabbing our reciprocating saw and we're going to make our cut. Try to make sure your cut is as straight as you possibly can so your exhaust can slide over the pipe nicely. All right, at this point, we're gonna remove the large muffler now that it is off the exhaust. We're gonna take it out of the hanger here. If you don't wanna take it out of the hanger, you can remove the two 13mm bolts that hold the hanger bracket on there. We're gonna use one of these hanger tools to just push the posts out of the rubber hanger itself. Okay, now we can repeat that process on the other side. Again, we're going for the end of the 90. We're gonna make a mark as straight as we can, all the way around, to just try to keep our cut as straight as possible. All right, now we can grab our saw and make our cut. I don't know if I said before, but make sure you're using the proper safety equipment, and you might want to grab a friend to put a hand on the muffler as you're cutting. So go ahead and make your cut. All right, go ahead and take your muffler out again. If you have a second set of hands here, it could be helpful. Just make sure you're careful as it's gonna fall as soon as it's loose.
So now that we have our factory mufflers cut out, we can start assembling our new one and get it ready to go onto the Mustang. First thing we gotta do is take our studs and thread them into this flange on the back of our muffler. Now I would recommend using some Loctite on these threads before you thread them in. Ours isn't staying on there permanently, so I'm not gonna put that on. But we're just gonna take the shorter threaded end and thread that into the flange. Just thread it in as far as you can by hand for both of them. And then we have a spot on the end of those studs where we can get a 6mm wrench to snug them up. So grab your 6mm wrench, thread those the rest of the way in, tighten them down. Flip this over and make it easier on this side. And then do the same thing for your other one. So now before we get our mufflers installed, I'm gonna start with the wiring here. On one end, we have our two connectors that are gonna be going to the valves on our muffler. And then on the other side, we have our cigarette lighter that's gonna plug in, as well as the connector for our controller. These are gonna run towards the front of the car. They're gonna go into the center console. And then for the two connectors for our valves, we have a grommet in our spare tire well in our trunk that we can run it through and down towards the ground. So now if you lift up on that trunk carpet, you'll get access to your spare tire. Now we don't have one in ours, so we don't have one to remove, but you're gonna pull that out and then you'll get access to this grommet on the passenger side. So just go ahead and pop that out. Now for a permanent install, I would cut a little X into this grommet using like a box knife. Since we're gonna be removing this after this video, I'm not gonna be cutting that. We're just gonna pop it out for the time being and run our two connectors through it and down towards the ground. I'm just gonna pull that through from the bottom side. And then we can run this into the cabin. So now we're gonna hop inside the cabin. I pulled the front seat up and we're gonna come to the back seat on the passenger side. We've got this little strap that we can pull to pop that down. And then we're gonna grab our wire here We're gonna pull it through. We want enough slack so that our connector for our controller and our cigarette lighter plug can go into the center console here. And then we're just gonna be tucking this in the gap between this plastic trim and the seat, and then underneath of our seat bottom. And then on the center console, we've got a little slot for a wire to go through so that we can run it into there. I'm just gonna fold that back up for the time being. Underneath the seat. We'll run it over to our center console. Pop that up. This is that slot for the wire here. So now we can take the connector on our harness and plug it into our control box here. And then tuck that in. And then I'm gonna take the cigarette lighter plug, and we're just gonna put that in here for now. I'm not gonna plug it in until we've got the full thing installed. And then we'll just put it into that gap for a wire, shut our center console. So now we're ready to start installing our exhaust. I'm gonna start with this elbow here. Take one of your clamps and slide it over the edge of that. And then slide this onto your pipe. And I'm not gonna tighten this clamp down right now. We're gonna get our muffler in there, get everything bolted together, and then we'll tighten it once we have it all adjusted. So next we can get our muffler up into place. A couple things before we do that. I'm gonna take some brake grease just to lube up our rod here so it slides into our isolator pretty easily. And then once you have that in, flip it around to the other side, and we're gonna have to install our gasket. I'll just slide right on, and then now we're ready to get this up and installed. So now raise your muffler up, slide your rod into the isolator, and then just make sure your gasket's in place. Slide it back onto that elbow pipe, and then take your two nuts, thread those on, and then just straighten out your flange so it's matching up. And just tighten those nuts down by hand for now. Next we can install our tips. Now with the way that our clamps are oriented, you're gonna wanna get the right side one on first so that you have access to that bolt to tighten that down, and then you can get your left one on. So just adjust these to have as much or as little poke as you'd like. I think right about there is good. I'm gonna tilt my clamp a little bit, make it easy to get that socket on. And then take a 13mm socket and tighten it down. And then grab your second tip, slide that on, and do the same thing here. Now we can go back to our flange on the back of the muffler, take a 14mm socket and tighten down these nuts. And now we can go back to our clamp. Make sure your exhaust is adjusted how you like it, and take a 16mm socket and tighten that down. And now you can repeat that process for the muffler on the other side. So now we can go back and plug in our two valves. We've got a shorter end and a longer end of the wire. Now if you're going out the passenger side grommet in the trunk, then the shorter side is going to be for the passenger side. The only thing I'm doing here is for the driver side one, I'm going to run it under this bracket that connects to our diffuser. And then just plug that in. Plug in the one on this side. And then we can go back and clean up our wires. So now we just need to clean up our wiring, and there's a ton of ways you could do this. The way I like to do is use these zip tie clips. They have double-sided tape that you can stick them down and then you can run a zip tie through here to zip tie your wires up out of the way. So I'm gonna get one up on the frame here. I'm gonna take a bunch of that slack and bunch it up together and run a zip tie through it. So peel off that backing, stick it down, run your zip tie through it. And then I'm gonna take up a bunch of the slack from the passenger side and then just connect your zip tie. Tighten that down. And then take a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters, cut off the excess of that zip tie. And then where this wire comes out of the grommet, I'm gonna put another one right up there, just so that this doesn't sag down. I'm gonna put the passenger wire through there as well. And now I'm just gonna throw two more in there. I'm gonna go the same spot that I did on the passenger side. Run a zip tie through there. Tie that up. And then I'm just gonna go one in the middle right here. And now we're just gonna hop back in the trunk and just zip tie up all of this excess wire. And then we can go into the cabin, plug it in, and wrap this up. So now back in the center console, I've got a lot of extra slack on this cigarette lighter plug. So I'm just gonna bunch all that up, give that a good zip tie as well. Leave a little bit on the end there. Tuck that down in there, pop the cap, plug that in. I'm just gonna get the wire into that slot for wires to pass through, and we're good to go. So now to open and close our valves, we have this remote. So we're gonna slide down this cover, and that's gonna reveal an A and a B button. Now the A is to open and the B is to close. So you can hold down the A to open it completely up, and B to close it completely. And then you can also give short taps to turn it a little bit to adjust to the setting you'd like. Same thing with B. And then if you look down the tip, you can actually see it actuating. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the X-Force Varics twin 3-inch polished axleback exhaust for your 2018 to 23 Mustang GT Fastback. Thank you for watching, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.